especially on
Yeah, what's
my busy days. I don't mind at all. The only reason I said if you're going to make one of them a half hour one, let's make it this one because I'm starving. I got lunch down ready.
I got you.
So what do we got today?
I just want to work on that one parabola one we did the other day that we like kind of screwed up on.
Yeah, let's do it again. What was the problem?
Y equals 1/2 x squared plus 4x minus 10. And we have to complete the square, find the focal point, graph it, find the y directrix, and you said the y directrix is easy after you find the focal point. And then you have to find, it says 1 over 41, I think it's 1 over the absolute value of a, 4 times the absolute value of a. I could be misreading his writing.
Not absolute value. It's just 1 over p is a is 1 over 4p. Okay.
Oh.
For some reason, my computer went crazy on me. Give me that function again. Ah, there it is. Now it's bringing it back. Hey.
Okay, and then it's plus 4x minus 10. On the last part there.
1/2 x squared plus 4x minus 10. Hold on a second. Let me close my door. Cut down on the sound a little bit. Hopefully the dog won't start howling. All right. I'm not quite sure what happened last time. I got screwed up on this thing. I suspect I got the sign wrong, and that just completely fouled me up. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's work with this format for starters. In other words, if we can put it in vertex format, then we'll be able to complete the square easy enough. I mean, figure out the focus and the directrix. Okay? So let's try to get it into this format. Well, I'm close. I got a number at the end. That's the starts of a k. And if I'm going to complete the square, you always complete the square by doing that.
Okay.
By working with your x squared term and your x term. Now, before you can complete the square, you got to make sure that that x squared coefficient is 1. So I got to factor out that 1/2. Leaving what?
Just x squared.
What's the second?
And then plus 4x.
Well, if I wrote 4x in there, I'm changing it. I better write 8x. That's the same.
Okay.
You see that? In other words,
yeah, I get that now.
I'm trying to go from step to step without changing anything. I don't want to change a thing. I just want to manipulate it so that it looks different. Boy, sometimes I hate Windows 10 with a passion. This little
Windows 10 sucks.
This thing that pops open these windows like that, that's the most annoying thing in the world. It's right in the middle of my drawing tablet, and I can't continue to write until I can get these things to go down. And then you have to put your cursor there. So it's really annoying.
It really is.
Like that. Okay, so let me scroll down a little bit so that I won't be annoyed by it. Now, I need to leave room to complete the square. So really should have left a little room after that 8x. Same thing, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Always check. Make sure you have not changed anything. Now complete the square inside the parentheses.
How do we do that? What does complete the square entail?
It's always the same thing. You take half the coefficient of the x term, square it, and add it.
So are we taking half of x?
Nope.
And squaring
half of the coefficient of the x term. Taking
What's
half of
coefficient meaning
8.
again?
Well,
Half of 8.
here's the x term. Coefficient of the
Okay.
x term is 8.
Okay. So we're just
Coefficient of
taking
the x
half of
squared
8.
term is 1. We want to take the coefficient of the x term, take half of it, square it, and add it. What is that?
Okay, so we're taking the half of 8, correct? And then squaring it
Correct.
and adding it.
Correct.
So we have 4, so that would be 16.
Yeah. And the reason you're always adding it is because even if this is a negative 8 and you take half of it, then it's minus 4 squared, which is still 16. So you're always putting a plus sign in front of this number. Now,
Okay.
the fact that I just wrote in plus 16, I changed the value of the right side of this equation. Right? You can't arbitrarily just write in numbers without changing the value. So how much did I change the value of it by? What did I just add to the right side of the equation?
8, pretty much. Is that 16?
No, I added half of 16.
Oh, so 8, yeah.
This 1/2 multiplies the 16. So what I really added to the right side of the equation was 8. So to balance it, I have to subtract 8.
Okay.
Now, that is the same as that. That's always my goal. Never forget that's what you're trying to do, is make it be exactly the same line to line, is all we're doing is trying to get it into this format.
Okay.
Okay, and you'll see how this is going to end up in that format. There's our K right there. There's our A right there. And what's going to go inside these parentheses is x minus 4 squared. In other words, whatever you got when you took half of that 8, that's what you end up with. It is a linear term squared. In our case, it's plus 4 because that sign is a plus. Notice I have not changed it. Going from every row I go down is exactly the same as the row above it. It's different numbers, but it's the same. If I expand this out, I'll get what I started with.
Okay. I'm understanding this, yeah.
Okay. Now, we've got it in perfect vertex format. So the only thing we need to know is that A is equal to 1 over 4P, or same thing, P equals 1 over 4A. Notice that if I just algebraically manipulate this thing, P equals 1 over 4A.
Okay.
Okay. Now we know what A is. So what is P? P is 1 over 4 times a half. What is that?
Well, that would just be 1 over 2. It would just be a half, wouldn't it?
That's what P is. Okay. Now, what that means, if I go to graph this thing, the vertex is at H and K. Well, H is negative 4. K is negative 18. You see why H is negative 4 and not positive 4?
May I say that again? Sorry.
H is negative 4. Here's the standard format, x minus h. We're looking at x plus 4. That means h has to be negative 4.
So it has to change somehow?
If I had
just
x
change?
minus 4, then h would be positive 4. But if I have x plus 4, h is negative 4. It has to be in this format, x minus h. Well, if it has to be in that format, then h better be negative 4. That's the only way I get x minus h. Okay? So h is negative 4. Y is negative 18. Let's put it right there. And we know that it opens which way, up or down? It's a parabola.
Up. Mm-hmm.
Which way, up or down?
Up.
Correct, because it's a plus 1/2. So that's an approximation of the graph, but we can now answer all of their questions even if we didn't graph it perfectly. You know the focus is somewhere there. Well, how far above the vertex is the focus?
The vertex of it, well, they're equal, aren't they? Like the focus, or not, hold
This
on, I'm thinking about
distance
something
is
else.
P.
Okay. That distance is B?
P.
Oh, P.
That's what we figured out. P that was 1/2.
Okay.
In other words, that's what they want, is where is the focus and where is the directrix? Well, let me draw a little bigger scale here. So if my vertex is right there at -4, -18, and I know it opens up, and tell me what the coordinates of the focus are.
Well,
What's the x-coordinate?
wouldn't the focus be? The x-coordinate was, wait, hold on, I think I got a little lost here. How would we find that? Is it, over by?
The focus is directly above the vertex.
Okay.
So what's the coordinate of the x-coordinate? If the vertex x-coordinate is -4, what's the coordinate of my focus, the x-coordinate?
Is it just like 1 point up then?
X-coordinate doesn't change.
Okay.
Right? You see why?
No, yeah, I
That's
understand
4
that.
units to the left of the y-axis. This focus is 4 units to the left of the y-axis. In other words, when
Okay,
you
yeah, I
have a
understand
vertical parabola, your focus's coordinate, x-coordinate, is always the same as the vertex x-coordinate.
That's true.
Okay? However, the y-coordinate's different. The y-coordinate of the vertex is -18. We know that P is up 1/2 from that. So what is the y-coordinate of my focus?
Is it just -17 and 1/2?
You got it. And now the directrix, which is always perpendicular to the line of symmetry.
That's always down 1, isn't it?
Well, it's down the same, not down 1. It's down the same
No,
amount
it's down
as the
1/2.
focal length is.
So this one, would it be -4 or yeah, -4 and then -18.5?
Well, good thinking, good thought process. The difference is that the directrix is an equation of a line. It is not a point.
Oh,
Our
okay. So
vertex was a point and our focus was a point, but that's a line. So what is this value right there? That is -18.5.
okay.
The equation of that line is the equation of any horizontal line is y equals some number, whatever the y-intercept is. If I'm writing the equation of a horizontal line, wherever it crosses the y-axis, that's the equation of the line. Y equals that number.
Okay, cool.
Okay? So there's your focus. There's your directrix. Very important that you give the focus as a point and the directrix as a line. What else did they want to know?
That's it. I think we did it.
Notice
Yeah,
they didn't even make us graph this properly. In other words, I guessed a little bit on the graph. The only information I had was the vertex and the shrink factor. So it's 1/2. So I know it's a little flatter than a normal parabola, the true shape of that thing, probably like that. Doesn't change the focus, doesn't change the directrix. So whether it's a skinny parabola or a fat parabola matters not in terms of focus and directrix. Well, it actually doesn't matter because P was a function of this 1/2. And that 1/2 is what makes it a flatter parabola. In other words, here, let me just make something clear to you. If I give you a bunch of parabolas, one's like that, one's like that, this parabola, the focus is going to be higher up than this parabola. It's going to be lower down.
Okay.
And it's because that A is not the same as that A. And when you have different A's, you have different P's. Because remember, P is 1 over 4A. Now, we did that entire problem starting with vertex format. We never did go to the format that uses P. Because all we used was this equation right here. A equals 1 over 4P. So, and you can always do that. There's nothing that prevents you doing that every single time. You don't have to go to this format that says 4P times Y equals X minus H squared plus K. That's the other format they want to teach you. It's actually, excuse me, it's 4P times Y minus K equals X minus H squared. You don't really have to learn this format. Let's just cross it out and not learn it. And every time we come across a problem, we're going to work with this format here.
Okay.
Okay? Then there won't be any confusion. I think partly what happened last time is that I was working with both different formats and I got my sign wrong on the 10 and pretty soon I had two different answers.
All right, cool. Honestly, I think we can stop for right there for now.
Okay.
And then at 5, because I know you want to go to lunch.
And then we'll do an hour at 5. Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go eat my slow-cooked pork chops.
That sounds good.
It is good.
I haven't eaten yet either, so.
It is going to be.
All right, I'll catch you later.
Thanks, Eric. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.